Good evening and welcome to this special presentation right here on NDTV. The final countdown, about 24 hours left, less than 24 hours left, and we thought that while there is so much buzz around Chandrayaan, do many of us actually even know what is going to happen? You see, this is quite literally rocket science. So for you and for us, for everyone, it is important to know what is going to happen tomorrow. We get for you what we are calling the Chandrayaan explainers. So let's start this 30-minute journey where we are trying to understand ourselves and make you understand what to expect over the next 24 hours. So number one and the most important question is, what is the moon mission? What is Chandrayaan-3? That's a very basic question to begin with. What is Chandrayaan-3? So the answer to that is that this is India's third moon mission. This is a follow-up mission to Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2, which were the earlier two moon missions. It was launched on the 14th of July at 2:35 p.m. The landing on the moon is expected at 6:04 on the 23rd of August, which is tomorrow, less than 24 hours. And the total cost is 700 crores on this enterprise. Now the next question, what are the components of Chandrayaan-3? What does it comprise of? So there are three major components of Chandrayaan-3. Let's put them on screen one by one to get you an idea. There is a propulsion module, there is a lander and a rover. And the lander and the rover actually have a name. They're called the Vikram lander and the Pragyan rover. These are these cute names that they have. They had them in Chandrayaan-2 as well. So the propulsion module carries the Vikram lander to a 100-kilometer orbit around the moon, and that is a phase which we crossed just a few days ago. This is what leaves the Earth, enters into the orbit of the moon, and then after that they separate, and slowly the lander starts moving down and starts coming down, and then eventually to plan its landing on the moon surface. The Vikram lander will soft land on the moon surface. This is what is supposed to happen at 6:04 p.m. tomorrow. This landing, we will come to how tricky this landing is in just a short moment, but the landing is going to happen tomorrow at 6:04. The Vikram lander will then open, and then it will deploy a little toy-shaped car-like thing called the Pragyan rover. It's got small wheels, and this is going to physically drive itself on the surface of the moon to gather a lot of information. The rover will carry out scientific analysis on the moon surface. So that is its objective. It's not like it's going for a sweet little drive on the moon. It's there on a mission. The next important set of questions that we got, which have kind of excited us as well, is what has Chandrayaan-3 learnt from the previous two missions, that is Chandrayaan-1 and 2? What are the learnings? You see, Chandrayaan-1 was launched in 2008, Chandrayaan-2 in 2019. In September 2019, the ISRO or ISRO lost contact with Chandrayaan-2 lander during the descent to the moon, and that is why this is a very, very tricky thing which is going to happen tomorrow. It's very tricky. It's very, I won't say easy, but there are various phases involved in getting this lander into the orbit of the moon, but for it to slowly land gently on the surface of the moon is very, very tricky. There's a name for it also. We'll come to that in just a short moment. So this is the stage which we could not crack in Chandrayaan-2. Now the Chandrayaan-2 lander crashed into the moon surface. ISRO said that the Chandrayaan-2 experience has actually helped the third mission, and how it has helped we'll just tell you in a moment. ISRO says that the Chandrayaan-3 lander is more robust, has better features. We've also earmarked a bigger landing identified for the Chandrayaan-3, like for instance this space that you see right now. For the Chandrayaan-2 was limited, that it has to land in a little area. For the Chandrayaan-3 to land, this space has been increased, which means it can decide in a larger area to find a suitable place to land. So that is one improvement that we have learnt. The ISRO also says the new calculations have been made to control the landing speed during touchdown, because this is very important. You can't have a hard landing that is going to lead to the equipment being damaged. But that soft landing, all the calculations that are required have in fact been done by ISRO, so that there is that sure shot soft landing. Multiple failure scenarios have been identified and accounted for, and this is the most important point, for which I would like to welcome Pallav Bagla in the studio with me. Pallav, good evening. I know this sort of stuff excites you a lot.
It does. It excites India.
Absolutely,
and the world.
Absolutely. I mean, record number of views for Chandrayaan-2, for the time when this was being released from the Earth into the space. India is interested in what is going to happen tomorrow. Now, I want to know from you, Mr. Bagla, if you could just come here. Yeah, I wanted to know from you, Mr. Bagla, that this last point that we discussed, multiple failure scenarios have been identified and accounted for. See, we do make mistakes, but then as long as we are learning from those mistakes, that's a good thing, right? So, what are the mistakes that we have learned from?
See, the very basic change between Chandrayaan-2's Vikram lander and Chandrayaan-3's Vikram lander is that, see, the design philosophy in Chandrayaan-2 was designed for success. In Chandrayaan-3, the design philosophy is, it is designed to fail, yet it should be able to land on the moon surface. So, even when it is coming down and the engines don't perform, there is called a salvage mode, which will bring it down wherever it is and bring it down gently onto the moon surface. And if everything goes wrong and we go into the salvage mode, hopefully we don't, because ISRO has done hundreds of simulations.
Yeah.
But if it does, then if there are no boulders, no craters, we still get a landing which could be useful for science. And that is what is called the changes which have been made. The legs have been strengthened, the algorithm has been changed, the tests have been done, there's helicopter test, there's a hot test, there's a cold test. Oh, hundreds of tests.
Pallav, there's an important point that you mentioned. You say that the earlier mission was designed for success. This one has been designed keeping in mind that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Imagine that scenario and then build a product.
Absolutely. It is,
and that's a good
design philosophy is that whatever needs to fail, it fails.
Yeah.
But yet we should have a soft landing. Recently, Luna 25 of Russia failed.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a scenario which the Indian Space Research Agency wants.
And that way, the failings of Chandrayaan-2 perhaps helped.
Oh, huge number of learnings from Chandrayaan-2. They have learnt, it took them 4 years. First year, they analyzed what went wrong. Second year, they tried to figure out what had gone wrong and fixed it.
Correct.
Third year was spent in designing stuff. The fourth year was spent entirely on testing, so that the Vikram lander is so robust that tomorrow at 6:04 p.m.
it lands.
You and I should be rejoicing. That
Absolutely.
is that, and in fact, the mood in the Indian Space Research Organization's Mission Operation Complex is calm and taking it forward in a clinical fashion, hoping for a good finish.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that K. Sivan, the former ISRO chief, who was the head when the Chandrayaan-2 mission was not quite successful, his comment was that we are waiting for the 15 minutes of terror, which have now become the 20 minutes of terror, Pallav. Let's talk about that, and let's put those graphics on the screen right now in the next set of Chandrayaan explainers. So, Chandrayaan-3 landing, what are these 20 minutes of terror? Let's put that on the screen just now. So, Chandrayaan-3 will attempt soft landing on the moon's surface, as Pallav was just telling you. The ISRO chief has described the soft landing duration, that time when it slowly comes down and lands, as 20 minutes of terror. Do remember, K. Sivan called it 15. I think the new ISRO chief has increased it by 5 minutes to make it 20 minutes. So, 20 minutes of terror. Absolute terror that what is going to happen. ISRO says that the soft landing is an extremely complex and autonomous process. You can't do anything sitting in India. You can't do anything in a control room. The lander is on its own. You can't do much to guide the lander from Earth, and that is why this becomes the 20 minutes of terror. Reducing the speed during the soft landing is a major challenge. You see, something is hurtling down at a massive speed. Now, you may have made lots of calculations and preparations that this is how it will gradually slow down and land, but what if it doesn't, because it is on its own? I think that is what is called 20 minutes of terror when this exercise is going to happen. The other challenges are lunar dust and unexpected terrain. Now, all of these things have been factored in, but yet you see there are many variables that are at play. Now, Pallav, before you respond to 20 minutes of terror, let's quickly take in a next set of graphic also.
Let me add here.
Yeah, sure.
The current chief, Mr. S. Somnath, he told me clearly, they are not terrorized. They are very calm, contented, doing their work very carefully. So there is no fear of terror.
Yeah.
That was in the former chief's mind when he spoke about those minutes of terror. It's just that for the layperson, these 20 minutes are going to be agonizing.
Yeah.
Which is why I have called that the 20 minutes.
There'll be a suspense.
It will be suspenseful. You will not know what is happening. You will know exactly how it is going down.
Yeah.
But whether it succeeds, we have to wait and watch.
And that's when it becomes. But then these challenges are for real. It's not like.
Oh, it is very real.
Yeah.
You cannot communicate with the Vikram lander when it starts deorbiting and going to the moon surface. When you send a signal from Bangalore to Vikram lander, it takes 1.25 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you say hello or namaste, it takes 1.25. So, and that 20 minutes, there is no communication.
Yeah.
All the codes are loaded, and the Vikram lander comes down automatically.
Correct.
So it's at that period, really nobody can help.
Nobody can help. Nobody knows what's happening. I mean,
you know,
but you can't do anything.
You cannot do
as to
anything.
what is happening until that time that it actually lands.
Yes. Once it deorbits, till it lands, you cannot do anything except pray that everything goes well.
And
last time it didn't go well, but this time, hopefully things will go wrong.
This is the reason why it is being called the 20 minutes of terror. And that is the time prior to 6:04 p.m. tomorrow.
That is
will
correct.
Be those 20 minutes of terror, which we are going to wait and see. Now, what does Chandrayaan-3 hope to achieve or hope to accomplish? That is a very important and significant point. Like, we are doing this, but we are not just doing this for fun. It's not like one fine day we decided, let's send a mission to the moon. It is on a serious mission. The mission means business. What does it hope to do? It will demonstrate a soft landing on the moon's surface, which, as you have learned from Pallav and also with the help of this graphic presentation, a very difficult task to do. I mean, countries have failed doing this. So it is very, very difficult. One. Number two, this is going to be the first landing near the moon's untouched south pole. That is the southern part of the moon. So again, a very, very tricky territory, unknown territory, and that is where this landing is being attempted. It will demonstrate a new technology for interplanetary missions. Six-wheeled Vikram rover Pragyan rover will roam the moon for 14 days. And I think that is going to be very, very significant when it is going to move around the moon and gather more surface. The rover will carry out chemical analysis of the moon's surface. The lander includes CHASTE, which is, maybe Mr. Bagla will be able to tell us what this means. This is to measure temperature and thermal conductivity. There is an instrument for lunar seismic activity, which will measure earthquake-like activities on the moon. I told you, it's a very serious mission. Passive laser retroreflector array supplied by NASA will study the lunar laser, and Rambha is to study gases and plasma on the moon's surface. Pallav, would you like to explain to our viewers why each of these jobs which the lander and rover are going to attempt once they land are so significant?
Well, the most important part of the Vikram lander is to soft land. When we soft land on a celestial body, it sends out a message to the world. India can do very tricky, very difficult things. But when you are going out for exploration of a region, that's why India is choosing nearer the South Pole, not really the South Pole, but closer to the South Pole. Nobody has gone there except India's moon impactor probe in Chandrayaan-3, which went and impacted and placed India's flag in 2008 nearer the South Pole. So there is, while you do this, while you demonstrate to the world and a geopolitical statement, why not do some science? Why not get some data which will be useful not just for India, in fact for Russia, America. I just interviewed the head of the American National Science Foundation, and they are looking forward to getting the first data from the moon surface. The elemental composition of the moon surface in southern region, it varies. So there is a lot of science which is expected.
Also lots of curiosity around water being there on the surface of the moon.
Yes, see, that was a classical finding done by Chandrayaan-1 in 2008. Before that, moon was considered a parched surface. The Chandrayaan-1 using NASA instruments found that there are presence of water molecules. But for me, the big moment will come tomorrow once Vikram lander soft lands, then the Pragyan rover comes out. One will take the picture of the other, and the Vikram will take pictures of the rover. And I say the first selfies from the lunar surface will come back. For me, and for most Indians,
nice way to put it.
That would be the culmination of this 4-year journey.
Correct.
Scientists will continue to gather data and do.
The lunar selfies will commemorate the moment.
Will commemorate, and that will be a wonderful thing.
And you know why this becomes very, very significant? Because only very recently, another country attempted to do this and failed.
Yes.
We are talking about Russia's moon mission, which has failed, and that is why all eyes are on Chandrayaan-3. So Russia's first moon mission in 50 years, imagine the last moon mission was when they were the USSR.
Yes, 1976.
Exactly. And as Russia, for the first time in 50 years, they carried out a moon mission and it crashed. Luna 25 was launched on the 10th of August. It crashed on the 20th of August. Luna was supposed to soft land near the South Pole on the 21st of August. 2 days ahead of India's Chandrayaan-3 mission. It was supposed to land and it could not. Luna was supposed to soft land and it could not. Imagine. The Russian Space Agency said that the crash happened during the pre-landing maneuver. Now India will be a sole contender in the race for the lunar South Pole. The point that Pallav was making, a place where nobody has gone, a place that nobody has seen, a place that kindles scientific curiosity as to what must be there. Russia attempted after 50 long years, could not, failed, which is why this becomes very, very, very important. Now before we go any further, let's now talk about the previous missions, space missions that India has accomplished. Now as Pallav was just telling us just a short while ago, Chandrayaan-1, completely successful. It confirmed the presence of water on the moon. It discovered water ice in lunar poles. Then we had the Mangalyaan in 2013. This was a Mars mission, successfully reached the Mars orbit in 2014. Made India the first Asian nation to reach the Mars orbit. There's a very famous movie also on it called Mangalyaan.
Mission Mangal.
Mission Mangal. Provided data on methane presence on Mars. So this was a successful mission which reached Mars. This was our Mangalyaan in 2013. And then Chandrayaan-2, of course, the orbiter continues to operate successfully despite the crash. And by the way, the Vikram lander and this orbiter from Chandrayaan-2 exchanged a hello in space with one another only yesterday.
That is true. See, the Vikram lander can communicate with the orbiter of Chandrayaan-2 and the Vikram lander can also communicate directly with Bengaluru. So there is a namaste which will happen in a 3-way process. And that namaste is very important because that's how you communicate with robotic missions which are so far away, which is 3.84 lakh kilometers away.
Right.
So this is a very beautiful moment for India. So far we have succeeded. In Chandrayaan-2, we have done all of this till this stage, till a little beyond. There's a rough braking phase, then a fine braking phase. It's the fine braking phase where the Vikram lander of Chandrayaan-2 went awry and crashed. But this time, the number of simulations and tests
Is
which
it
have been
possible
done.
for you to compare what happened with Luna 25 and Chandrayaan-2?
No, there are two different missions.
Yeah.
See, one should know that,
No, I'm talking about the stage at which they failed.
no, it failed much earlier. In orbit, when it was being deorbited, it failed. So, but they are independent missions. They had
Yeah.
nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
And not much that ISRO can learn from them or Russia can learn from India.
Yeah.
But both were expected to do good science from near South Pole.
Yeah.
And remember, Russia and India are friends. So there was no lunar race between India and Russia.
Yeah.
It was a race to get good science
Correct.
by two very powerful nations.
Yeah.
Obviously, Russia has a deeper strength.
Correct, correct. Now let's just complete what Chandrayaan-2 gave back as information. So the orbiter continues to operate successfully despite the crash, as we just told you. It detected water molecules on the lunar surface, which by the way Chandrayaan-1 did as well, and it discovered new lunar craters. And this is all the information which has come in extremely handy while India planned Chandrayaan-3. Now let's talk about India's landmark space missions, and I know that this is going to be like really exciting stuff for Pallav, because he must have experienced some of these big moments. For instance, Pallav, 1975, Aryabhatta, India's first satellite. It was a milestone in India's space program. It completely designed in India. Then in 1983, the Indian National Satellite System called INSAT, very famous INSAT. It ushered in a revolution in India's television and radio broadcasting. I mean, Doordarshan, All India Radio, I mean, INSAT satellite became a sort of a household revolution.
It still is.
It still is, exactly. Then in 2008, Chandrayaan, India's first unmanned lunar probe. In 2014, Mangalyaan, we've discussed a lot about this. In 2017, the ISRO launched 104 satellites in one mission. And Pallav, among these 104 satellites, we had a lot of international collaboration as well. It was a proud moment for India.
There was no collaboration. All of them paid for the ride to space. So it was a moment where India not just created a world record, but we also earned some foreign exchange.
Lovely.
But these are small satellites, and for a long time that remained a global record.
Exactly.
Only now, recently, has it been broken by other agencies. So it was a fabulous moment, and Dr. K. Sivan, the former chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, was the man who figured out how to drop these small babies all over space without crashing with each other.
Wow.
Which is 104 when they are being dropped one after the other. Is a very tough job.
It's a very tough job, exactly. And then of course, the one that we are discussing right now, 2023, Chandrayaan-3, India's next mission, Aditya L1. It is the mission to study the sun. Pallav, as we end this broadcast, would you like to tell us, even as we anxiously wait for Chandrayaan-3, a little bit about this sun mission?
Oh, sure. See, how can you leave the sun out?
Life
on Earth depends on the sun.
But how do you study the sun? I mean,
very simple. They are sending a satellite which is going to go head out, but not go to the sun, go about 1.5 million kilometers away from the Earth, then just hang in there looking at the sun. And why do we want to do that? See, occasionally the sun gets very angry and sends solar storms. When solar storms come, they fry satellites, they fry power systems on Earth, all communication systems go bad. So ISRO essentially wants to study why does the sun get angry and can it be predicted and can we safeguard our satellites. You'd be surprised, Sanket, we have satellites and space assets worth 50,000 crores by India.
Wow.
So we need to have a way of protecting them and forecasting what is called the space weather.
So Aditya L1 is going to be in the front line.
Aditya L1 is a mission which will look at the sun and then give advance information. If there is a need, then how do you protect the satellites from getting fried, the electronics from being fried. But obviously there is other science also which will be done by Aditya L1. Aditya L1 is just going to happen within days of Chandrayaan-3 landing.
Brilliant.
So this is India looking at the moon, looking at the sun, But ultimately, for me, the big day will come when India will send an Indian astronaut in space from Indian soil on an Indian rocket. Gaganyaan mission is what I am looking forward to. 2024 and early 2025, if all goes well, we'll have another Rakesh Sharma in space, this time on an Indian rocket.
Lovely. How lovely to hear this, and may that day come soon. Thank you very much, Pallav Bagla, for joining us. I hope you also enjoyed and kind of understood with us on what to expect as far as Chandrayaan-3 is concerned on the Chandrayaan Explainers. News continues on the other side. Stay with us.